Welcome to Norwich. Welcome to Norwich University of the Arts. I'm Simon Ofield-Kerr. I'm the university's Vice-Chancellor. That means I'm responsible for the day-to-day operation of the university and its strategic development. But, more importantly, this is a bit painful to say this, 40 years ago, I was sitting where you're sitting now, trying to make a decision about where to study and what to study. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to study fine art or fashion, so I did a foundation course in art and design at Harrow, and eventually decided to study fine art. I studied fine art at Exeter College of Art and Design, did some work in the student union as well, tried to be a painter and wasn't very good at that, became a kind of conceptual photographer, became very interested in art history and critical theory, did an MA at Leeds University, started teaching then, and did my PhD at Leeds, and then taught at Central St Martin's, Middlesex University, Kingston University, University for the Creative Arts, University of the Arts London, and here. I've always taught practice-based students, the kind of art and design history, visual studies, cultural studies part of their course, and I guess my interest, my expertise, is how you translate your kind of confidence in practice into critical and historical work. How you understand doing that part of your course as another part of the creative project. So I've worked at a lot of institutions. I've been here for about 3.5 years, 4 years, and I can say really with great confidence, this is the best. It's the best place, I think, to study a creative arts subject. And that's because of the human scale of the community, the relationship between the courses, and the relationship between the institution and the city. It's really coherent, and there's a lot of opportunity, not just from learning on your course, but from learning from one another in a really tight creative community. I'm going to play you a little bit of a film, which was our brand launch film last year. I'm just going to play that because I want to say something at the end of the talk about two graduates, Sophie and Leonard, who designed our new brand, not as students, but as graduates working in North's branding agency in London. So I'll say a little bit about that after I've played the film. I'll leave that on the screen while I talk about that. So we launched the new brand last year. We chose on purpose an agency called North. They've done branding for Barbican, South Bank, Tate, but we chose them because the director of North is a visiting professor here, and we had 5 of our graduates in their London office. And so we had this opportunity to have our brand designed by our own graduates. And the concept they came up with was creative exchange. These different shapes that represent different buildings or different people or different courses all coming together to form the fabric, sometimes the material fabric, sometimes the digital fabric of the university. And we thought it was great. It was really important that we used a prestigious agency that we have a close connection to, and not our own students, because we need to support the industries that our students graduate into. We're really proud of the new brand, and I'll say a little bit more about Sophie and Leonard at the end of the presentation. These are kind of key performance indicators or evidence of esteem in relation to the university. this is the one that we are particularly proud of, which was awarded by the government, the Office for Students, last year. We're the only creative arts specialist university with a triple go TEF, and you get a triple go TEF for having great progression within the university. You know, students coming into the university, moving from year 1 to year 2, and then graduating at a really high level. And then in relation to graduate destinations. So it speaks to the quality of the provision here and the quality of the student experience. We were triple go TEF last time, 5 years ago, and we're the only creative arts university to maintain that gold over that period. And that's that's decades of work committed to a very particular model of creative arts education. A few other kind of league table indicators, if that's important. We're Arts University of the Year in the Daily Mail league table, top 10 for teaching quality in the student crowd, and the top arts university in terms of assessment and feedback in the National Student Survey. And again, we're particularly proud of that. Quite often, assessment and particularly feedback for creative arts subjects can be a little bit tricky, but we think it's absolutely fundamental for enabling our students to develop, succeed, progress in their own creative subjects, in their own creative projects. So we're really proud of the work that we've been doing in these areas over a long period of time, but really committed to the highest quality of provision. But probably what's more important than those kind of indicators is our philosophy. And our philosophy is one about critical creativity and about your personal creative journey. One way of explaining this is we don't have in our head what you should do. We provide a rigorous experience for you in which you develop your own personal research projects and build your own creative engine. What's really important is that you know how to pursue a creative project. So you're all creative already. We absolutely recognize that. We're not going to fill you up. You're not empty and we're filling you up. We recognize your creativity already. But the experience you have here, the kind of education you have here, makes you more creative. And it makes you more resilient, as well as enabling you to acquire a broad range of skills, technical skills, but also particularly it enables you to kind of begin to identify a project, develop that project, explore that project, and then really land that project in an effective way. It teaches you how to learn, and how to learn in a creative context, in a really demanding way, but in a way that's really supportive because of the kind of scale, human scale of the university. We use this concept of critical creativity, which is you learn about your own creativity and where it sits in the world, where it sits in industry, what its purpose is for you, and what its purpose will be for a future employer. That you become increasingly aware about your own creative practice. And I have to say, you know, art and design colleges have been doing that work in the UK for the last, well, it said 178 years for us. It's now 179 years. Next year it'll be 180 years that we've been doing this work. And we do it in this really close relationship with industry. So many of our staff are fractional within the university, working in the creative sector, working in the creative industries, bringing that intelligence into the curriculum all of the time, but really enabling you to develop that understanding for your own personal projects. Give you a bit of a sense of some of the environments within the university. We're a city centre campus. We've now got 13 buildings in the city centre. So as you move between the buildings of the university, you're moving around the city. And that's really purposeful in the sense that you're also using all the resources and the facilities of the city. And as you're moving around the buildings, you're seeing the work that other students are producing. It has to be said that you learn as much from one another, being in a creative environment, seeing the work that everybody is producing as you learn from your course. So it requires a significant dedication to participation, to being involved, for being present and taking part, and using all of the facilities and all of the resources of the university to pursue your own project. As you look around today and you look at various workshops, in relation to some of the courses you're interested, there'll be some workshops that really apply to you, and you'll be really interested in them. But all of the workshops of the university are open to all of the students of the university. So, even if you're on a games design course, you can be using the 3D workshop if your project requires that kind of support, requires that kind of resource. And it's really important that it's a total community of a mass of students undertaking different areas of study in different courses, but doing that together. It's in a pretty great city. Some of you will know Norwich already, but I've fallen in love with Norwich over the last 3 years. It's a cool city. There's a lot going on in it. It's a human scale city. It's an incredibly safe city. It's a city that you can work out how to make things happen. And there's a lot going on in relation to the courses we have and how they kind of move out of the university into the city through pop-up events and exhibitions and festivals that take part here all of the time. So it's a university that is deeply embedded in the city. And as the Sunday Times says, one of the best places to live at the moment. Really kind of cool. A lot of coffee shops, a lot of coffee roasteries, parents close your ears, a tattoo parlor on every street. Very strange, but they're all over the place. It's a hipster city. We have to admit it. This is our campus. As I said, we're about 13 buildings. We've got 2 purpose-built buildings. This one, which we opened 3 years ago, and the other one that we opened in 1895. Everything else is a conversion of an historic building, some of which are medieval, some of which are Georgian, some of which are Victorian. So St George's, which just flashed past us there, was the 1895 building, which was Norwich Technical Institute, with the Art College on the top floor. Everything else is an ingenious conversion over the last 100 years and more. This is our new space, which I think you get the opportunity to visit today, which is out at Havers Road, which is only a kind of a 20-minute walk away. It's an industrial unit with our new immersive screen, which is a 30-foot diameter, 16 feet high, circular immersive screen that's used by all of our courses and is used for research and knowledge exchange with the creative sector. That's also where we have our motion capture facilities, which are particularly important for games and film. And it's also where we'll have our virtual production studio. So if you're starting in film or games or fine art, or actually any of our courses, when you arrive in September, our virtual production studio will be up and running. A virtual production studio is kind of amazing to have in a university. It's essentially a curved digital screen backdrop that you build sets in front of, and consequently, your production can be anywhere. The backdrop, which is kind of old technology in a sense, because it's like those films that used to be projected behind film sets, means your film can be set anywhere, anytime, in any imaginary place. So an incredible new facility within the university. This is about £2 million worth of new kit for research and for students. This is meant to be kind of just reassuring, I think, that, sometimes you need this reassurance that you're making a really smart decision by studying a creative subject. The creative sector in the UK is absolutely massive. Creative industries are huge. They are expanding at a really significant rate. They are hungry for graduates. They are hungry for creatives who are have really strong technical skills, and they are continuing to develop. What's really important is that we don't train you for the jobs that just exist now, because they're changing at such a rate. In 3 or 4 years' time, the jobs that will be available will be different, and in 10 years' time, they'll be incredibly different, and you will have lots of different jobs over your careers. And what we need to do is to provide you with your own kind of creative engine and an ability to learn new technologies, learn new approaches, ways of taking your skills to new parts of the creative sector as that develops and as that changes. But you're making a really smart future career decision by studying a creative subject. What also obviously happens is not every graduate goes into the creative industries or the creative sector. Lots go into all other industries, all other businesses, all other sectors. And what they take is what those industries are saying they need, which is high levels of critical creativity and abilities to identify, pursue, and deliver projects, not just individually, but collectively working in a team. So all of our courses provide those kinds of transferable skills that you take into other sectors, other businesses, other organizations. This is, I think, a really important slide. I mean, you're probably here looking at 1 or 2 courses, but it's really important that you know the whole portfolio of courses within the university. There's about 800, 900 students joining every year studying this range of courses. The ones highlighted in yellow are the new courses that we're adding into the portfolio this year. I'd highlight electronic music and sound production, esports, which is a massive, massive billion-dollar industry, hungry for expertise and graduates. And then we're adding business management, pure computer science, because everything digital is fundamental to the creative sector now. We're adding marketing, we're adding business management, and interestingly, and this is the one that sometimes stands out, we're adding psychology. But that's really important because everything we do is about human imagination, human understanding, human action in the world. So to have psychologists within the university kind of completes the whole ecology of our courses and how they can feed one another and represent the whole creative sector. We have 4-year degrees, which is a way of beginning in a kind of year 0. Used to be called, and sometimes is called, Art and Design Foundation, but it's a way of having an earlier preparatory year through which you can explore your interests and develop your skills. Here you do it on a course, but you actually do it in a group of students working across courses, and there's still a lot of flexibility about changing courses if you begin on year 0. So you could start in year 0 of, say, textiles and move to year 1 of graphic design. And that happens every year because there's something diagnostic and exploratory about the first year of a 4-year degree. We also have 2 level 5 diplomas, one in creative professional development, one in creative computing. These are additional years that you can take between your 2nd and 3rd year, where you get an extra qualification, either in creative computing or in kind of professional development, that you then take into your final year. So that means you can spend a year learning, high-level coding skills and how coding relates to your own research practice, and then take that back into your final year. And that kind of knowledge of coding and kind of knowledge of the digital world is essential for all creative practice now. Creative professional development is kind of a placement year. It's a supported placement year where you go on 2 placements within the creative sector and also think about how you need to develop your skills in relation to your future employment. So it gives you that placement opportunity. Entry requirements, you can scan this. I'm not going to go through the detail. What I would say is we're more interested in you than these results. We're interested in your application. We're interested in your portfolio. We're interested in your commitment. We're interested in your ambition. All of that matters more to us than you hitting these qualifications on the nail. We've got a number of ways that you can kind of present yourself to the university. You can go through a kind of submission of a portfolio, and you don't need to worry about when you submit a portfolio. We can make a judgment about your ambition, the quality of your work, your commitment at any time in the year. You can have an online group interview if you feel that's the best way that you can present yourself, or you can visit us again and have an in-person group interview if you feel that's the best way of you convincing us that you should be a student here. So we understand there are different ways that you should have to present yourselves to us to make your case to be a student in the university, because it's you that we're most interested in, rather than you hitting these qualifications absolutely on the nail. Though most of you, nearly all of you will. We have, I've talked a lot about it being a human scale community. It's a university where your name is known. You're not going to get lost. Your tutors are going to know you. You're going to know the caretakers. You're going to know the technical staff in the workshops. And you're also going to know colleagues within our student support services, who provide a range of services: well-being, disability, counselling, health, money, financial support, study skills, that hopefully don't just kind of catch you when you fall, but also build your resilience to be able to study throughout your course. We know, creative study is demanding. It takes a lot out of you, because it requires a lot of you, and we're very focused on your well-being and your health over the period of your course, because if you're well and if you're happy and if you're healthy, you're going to study better and you're going to be more creative. So hopefully this is a service that builds your resilience, but it is also a net. It catches you when you have issues and problems that you need a more kind of intensive intervention. But these will be people that you know because they're supporting you within the course already. This is some data about kind of progression and completion rates and what our students say about us, all of which is positive and kind of high level in terms of how we enable students to learn. And how we enable them to kind of engage with the materials that we're providing and the resources of the university. As I say, in small groups with small staff teams that you really come to know. With a real strong sense of community. We've got a really ambitious students' union that year on year is doing more and more with a broad range of societies. What's great also about Norwich is that there are 2 universities. There are more than 30,000 undergraduate or students within the city. You have access to the resources and facilities of UEA. In some of our halls of residence, you will be living with students from UEA. There's a big student community with all that entails within the city. This is some of our student halls of residence. We've got a broad spectrum of halls at a broad range of price points, and that's super important. From kind of bespoke studios to more shared accommodation at the other end of the spectrum, and that's really important that we maintain that broad range of student accommodation. But we can guarantee a place in hall for all first-year students. And actually, increasingly, second and third-year students are staying in halls because of the kind of total package that you get within student residential accommodation. It often turns out to be more convenient and actually a little bit cheaper than going into the private sector. Career outcomes, incredibly positive because of that kind of real close relationship between your course, your tutors, and the creative sector. From day one, you're going to be learning about the industry related to your course. You're going to have visits from creatives in those industries. You're going to have projects set by top flight professionals in those sectors, and your work is going to be in part assessed by those people. So just kind of by osmosis, you're learning about that industry, you're learning about the different opportunities within it, you're learning how to match your skills and creative journey to a future entry role and then a career within the creative sector. Projects like this are kind of deeply embedded within our course. This is a film, Ice Age, A Frozen World, which was a collaborative project between us and a production company called October Films, where students worked on producing the virtual production sets for that production. So you get deeply involved in real projects. Either you get deeply involved because it's part of your course and you get academic credit for it. If it's sitting outside of your course, you get paid. We have no expectation that your labour is provided into the creative industries for free. All of this kind of work that happens outside of the course is a job opportunity. And actually, we're particularly proud of that. There are a lot of opportunities in the university for paid employment. You'll see people today, students today, who are ambassadors. All of those student ambassadors are being paid. There are students who work in our workshops. They are all paid. There are students who work in our library, and they are all paid. So there are opportunities to work in the university to gain greater experience, but also to support your educational journey. Prizes, which one shall I talk about? I'm going to talk about the D&AD. A year ago, a student from our user experience design course won a D&AD black pencil. Now, you might not know what a black pencil means. It's massive. There were 2 black pencils awarded that year in the world. And a student from here, for a beautiful idea in relation to an app related to Sky TV, won a black pencil, which is the very highest achievement you could possibly achieve. And it was about this beautiful little app, which was about recording your emotional engagement with TV programs, and then that doing a big data kind of integrated piece, and then pulling back to you, similar kinds of programs that would give you, that emotional kind of engagement again. Really beautifully designed piece at the really highest level. And then we've got, graduates obviously across the world, including Liam, a design director in San Francisco, one of our graduates, but, just one of many, doing, top flight work in creative agencies across the world. Kat, the most incredible photographer, filmmaker, producing beautiful work at the very highest level. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, you don't need to go to London, you don't need to go to New York, you don't need to go to Berlin to be producing work at the highest level. Students at this university produce work at the very highest level, both as students, but then as graduates in their future employment. And you just can have great faith in that. So, neatly, I come back to the beginning, and this is John Leonard and Sophie Brandt, who were students on graphic communication who graduated and got jobs in North Design Agency in London, and were the 2 students who designed our new brand. which is just a beautiful, beautiful kind of closure of students working in a really top-flight agency and then bringing everything they know about the university back to the university to design that concept for our new brand. And kind of, the strapline is shape our world. And so we want you to come here to shape the world of the university, but then we want you to be graduates of the university that go out and shape your own world, shape your own lives and your own careers, but also make the world a better place. The purpose of, creativity is, it's to be entertaining, it's to make the world beautiful, but it's also to make the world better. There are huge global challenges that the world is facing, and we want you to be part of, addressing and solving some of those big global challenges. And we pay attention to those global challenges each and every day on our course, knowing that creative practice is absolutely integral to finding better ways of living in the world. So I hope that gives you a bit of a sense of what we do and how we do it. Most of all, I hope it gives you a bit of a sense of our philosophy and energy in the university.